Hey, lovers. Welcome to the Book Lovers Club, the podcast where we celebrate Black Sapphic love stories, one book at a time. I'm your host, Joy, a married lesbian, lifelong book lover, and relational communication scholar. Here, we don't just read the romance, we learn from it. I believe that love stories can do more than just entertain us. They can teach us how to love better, how to see ourselves more clearly, and how to create the love life of our dreams. Each week, I'll dive into sapphic stories written for us and by us, while weaving in personal insights and communication lessons you can take off the page. So grab your drink, get cozy, and let's turn the page together. Welcome to the club. Hey, book lovers. Welcome back to another episode of the Book Lovers Club. And y'all, we have another milestone to celebrate this week. So I have secured not one, but two author interviews for this here pod. I am so excited. I'm so excited. Y'all remember in my very first episode, I told y'all that one of my goals was to bring authors on my podcast. And now we are finally embarking on this venture together, okay? So I'm actually really excited about both of the authors. However, L.M. Bennett holds a special place in my heart, so I will be interviewing her for one of my episodes. She is debuting a new book called The Chef's Christmas Charade. I love Christmas romances, and I'm really excited to read hers. But before I even decided to embark on this venture, I had read her book, The Art of Going Rogue, and I slid in her DMs to let her know that I felt like one of the characters got off too easy. He caused too much harm, in my opinion, to my boo. And he got off too easy. And you know what I'm talking about, girl. If you listening to this episode, you know what I'm talking about. So I slid in her DMs and let her know. And we went back and forth. And she was like, ooh, I like having these kind of conversations. And I'm like, well, look, I'm planning on starting a podcast and a book club where we read Black Sapphic books. And she had mentioned like she'd come on. If I do that, if I follow through and I do that, she'd come on. So once I launched my podcast and had my episode published, I reached out to her and said, hey, I'm doing the thing. I'm going to hold you to what you said. Are you still going to come on my pod? And she said, yeah, like I was serious. Like I got you. So I wanted to get comfortable with what I was doing before I invited other guests and I practiced with my friends and stuff like that so I can know what I'm doing. Because y'all, this is a learning curve, this technology and just conferencing people in and stuff. So I wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing before I ventured out and invited my first author onto my podcast. And I'm just really excited that it's going to be her. She's going to be my first one because she's been rocking with me from the beginning. When I started doing this and posting content about Black Sapphic books, she engaged with me and commented on my post when I read her book. And I love authors that do that, that interact with their supporters and interact with their fans. And I am really a fan of her work. And what's crazy is that we're reading Flirting Lessons right now. And in the book, the characters go on a flirting lesson at a book signing. And the book author that's doing the book signing is a queer author who writes queer romance. And I don't know, I was just like, man, I would love to organize an event like that where queer women come together and get their books signed and I can interview the author live and, we can have discussions. So I am now setting that as a new goal. That is going to be something that I am doing. So after reading that scene in the book, and now that I have authors coming on my pod, I am going to set my sights even higher because I would love to actually organize larger book events. And I'm speaking it into existence. But I see the vision after reading Flirting Lessons. I'm like, that's going to be me, baby. I'm going to be putting together book events like that. But L.M. Bennett has been rocking with me from the beginning, and I'm very grateful. So thank you for supporting me and supporting my work as I support you in your work. You know what I mean? It's a mutual exchange. I appreciate you. So I'm really excited to meet you and really excited to talk to you. So thank you. The other author that's coming on my podcast is Aunt Georgia Lee. So we've been communicating with each other via social media on Instagram, and I'm really excited to become one of her ARC reviewers. Her new book is going to be coming out called Ain't Too Old to Grind. And I am especially excited for this because I am getting older and I am trying to embrace getting older. However, most of my life I've had a baby face. People have always told me I haven't looked my age, and now I'm starting to look my age, okay? I'm getting the gray hair. I have a lot of gray hair, y'all. I'm actually gonna be touching up my color this weekend because I cannot. I cannot. It's entirely too much gray now. However, I've been trying to embrace it and embrace aging gracefully because we're in the era where everyone is going under the knife. They're getting fillers and Botox and all the surgeries, and I don't knock it. Do what you do. But I think it's very revolutionary to be seen aging and show signs of aging. And I wanted to be someone that like really embraced that. However, I do understand people's struggles with it. I got a student I told y'all that loves to call me granny, and I'm trying to just embrace it, okay? But we live in a society that as women get older, we're pushed to the margins. We're not seen as attractive. Like men are able to age and become silver foxes and become more desirable as they age. But women, the way the society views women as they age, we become invisible, less attractive, things like that. So I think it is just so impactful when authors are centering older women in their books. And there's been a lot of people talking about a need for older female leads in books. I don't know when we all decided that every book needed to be centered on 18 to 25-year-olds. Hell, it's hard to find a book sometimes with a 25-year-old. So finding a book where the romantic interests are 30 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus, hard to find. So I just think it's so impactful when authors are doing that because we need more representation of older women who are still finding love, who are still getting married and discovering new careers and exploring things because that's real life. I don't know why we've decided that there's a time limit on certain things in life, but it is, and it's never too late for you to pursue anything that you want to do. And like I said, I think it's just so impactful when authors tell these stories and remind us that it's not too late for you to do whatever the fuck you want to do. Okay? So you ain't too old to grind. So Aunt Georgia Lee, I'm really excited for this book, babes, okay? Because I want to see some silver baddies out here getting their back broke, still finding love because that's what real life do. Okay? We don't just get older and disappear. Older women are out here really thriving, and we need to see that representation in books, on social media, in the movies, on the screen, okay? Because my favorite thing to do is follow older women on social media that are like really showing what life looks like for a thriving woman as she ages. And that's going to be me, baby. Okay, that's going to be me. I'm going to defy aging stereotypes. Okay, that's going to be me. So I appreciate you for writing a book with older female characters. And not just that, it's a Black sapphic book, okay, with older women love interests. We love to see it, baby. Love to see it. So thank you for your work. I'm excited to learn more about your books and connect with you and just to get to know you in real time and take it off the internet. Okay? It's time for us to connect in real life. So thank you, Aunt Georgia Lee, for coming on my pod and for telling the stories that need to be told. Okay, because older women are doing all the things, and we need to be reminded that you ain't too old to grind. So I will let y'all know when those episodes drop so that y'all can get to know these authors with me and we can support them and celebrate the stories that they're telling and really amplify their work. Because, my podcast is where Black Sapphic stories come to shine. We're going to shine a light on them. And I just want to thank y'all for being my first author spotlights and really supporting me on this journey because it's only up from here, baby. Because, like I said, I am going to be hosting book events in the future where I'm going to have Black queer women doing book signings, talking about their books, connecting with their fans and their supporters. And we're going to do this together, okay? So I am manifesting it. Y'all heard it here first. It's going to happen because I said this was going to happen and now it's happened, okay? It's coming. And I'm just very grateful. So we got another milestone that we hit. All right, it's only up from here, baby. All right, so today I wanted to talk to y'all about the books. So y'all know we're reading 2 books this month. Flirting Lessons by Jasmine Guillory, like I've already mentioned, and then we're also reading the sequel to This Poison Heart that we read last month. So we're reading This Wicked Fate by Kaylin Bayron. So what I'm going to do is each episode I'll alternate which books I'm going to discuss. So today's episode, we're going to focus on Flirting Lessons because I got a lot to say. This book has really brought out the relational scholar in me because Taylor was dropping gems, baby. Taylor is dropping gems. She getting Miss Avery together, okay? And I'm just here for it. But before we get into the book, I just want to recap a little bit about my trip to Savannah, mainly because I read some really good books on my vacation, and I just want to put them on your radar. So I've been on the internet and just doing research before we went on the flight because with the government shutdown and how it's been impacting travel, the internet had me scared, y'all. I didn't know if my flight was going to get canceled. I didn't know what these TSA lines were going to look like. So wifey and I, we usually get to the airport, like no joke, like 20 minutes before our flight is about to board. We are a hot mess. We will pack our luggage the night before we're about to fly and pull an all-nighter. We'll literally stay up all night packing and then go straight to the airport. We are not those people that have stuff super planned out and packed weeks and days in advance. No, that's not us. Okay. And we will be running to the airport every time, damn near about to miss our flight. And then things just somehow magically always work out. So I was like, look, we need to get to the airport early because I know how we are. Okay. And we run the risk of missing our flight if we got to stay in these TSA lines. But you know, me and wifey got TSA pre-check. We got global entry, everything you need to skip a line, we went and got because we know how we are. And we be getting to them airports late as hell. Okay. So we got to the airport though 2 hours early just to make sure we're prepared in case anything is crazy. So we're going to do it different this time. We don't want to stress. Y'all, it was nobody in line. I mean, nobody. General boarding, TSA pre-check, we walked right up. Wasn't nobody there. So we had hours to spare because we got to the airport super early. So I went to check out the airport bookstore. So we went to Ink by Hudson. Y'all, that bookstore was so damn good. I was surprised. I'm like, y'all got a lot of bangers in the airport bookstore. I mean, a lot of bangers. I was having a hard time containing myself because I was going to buy a whole bunch of books and they weren't like marked up. They were the typical price I'm used to seeing books at bookstores, okay? They had some nice bookmarks, like lapel pins, all kinds of stuff. The bookstore was giving. So I killed a lot of time, me and wifey walking through that bookstore looking for books. I had so much fun walking through that bookstore. It was so many good picks, such a good selection. But the cashier, she had just put The Scammer by Tiffany D. Jackson on the floor. So when I picked the book up, because that book cover and that bright ass pink, it was calling to me. So pink is my favorite color. Pink is gonna capture me every time. That's my happy color. I love that color. And the book cover is bomb. Okay. And I will buy a book just because I like the book cover. But when I saw that book on the shelf, it was like a magnet, moth to a flame. Ah, okay. It was calling to me. I went straight up to that book. She came from behind the register and said, "Ooh, girl, I just put that on the floor. I just read that book. It is so good." She hyped the book up. I was like, I'm sold. Okay. Bought the book, started reading it in the airport because I told y'all we had a lot of time to kill. I damn near finished that book before we got off the plane. I could not, it page turner. I could not put it down. It is a page turner. So I wanted to make sure I took some time to tell y'all about The Scammer by Tiffany D. Jackson. That book stressed me out so bad, I made my wife read it. And she finished that book before we left Savannah. sucked us both in. Okay, it is a Hotep horror story set on an HBCU campus. And the characters was pissing me off so bad. I mean, the type of pissing me off, I want to throw the book across the room. My wife's leg was shaking. Her anxiety was getting shot up. Okay? Blood pressure rising. But it was so good. The plot twists were twisting. So I wanted to make sure y'all knew about that damn book because it was so good. And when I read a good book, I got to let y'all know I read a good book so that y'all can go and read that good book, okay? But The Scammer by Tiffany D. Jackson is worth all the hype. And it's a young adult book. A young adult thriller. Girl, great book. It was so good. Anyway, now we can transition into our discussion about Flirting Lessons by Jasmine Guillory. And I'm actually giving y'all homework this week because I was really inspired reading the book. So I don't want to give too much away. But like I said, right now, Taylor and Avery have met at Taylor's job at the winery. Okay, and Avery has asked Taylor to well, actually, Taylor offered to give Avery flirting lessons. All right. So they have now gone on their very first flirting lesson. And that whole chapter just really inspired me and what I wanted to talk to y'all about today. So I've been having a lot of conversations with people around how difficult it is to make friends in adulthood. Like, it's so difficult. And just I always bring up on this podcast just the loneliness epidemic because I think that this stuff is all connected. You know, post COVID, we were already losing some of those social skills because over the years we've become increasingly more social on the internet and to the point where people prefer to socialize virtually. And they're losing that ability and those skills to really build relationships and communicate with people in real time. And it's a muscle. Improving your communication skills and building rapport and networking and all of that, it takes practice. It's a skill set that you have to develop and you have to keep working at it to get better at it. And I don't often think that people look at communication skills as something that you can work towards building. Like, that's why I majored in it. That's why I studied communication. This is something that you can put work in and to become a better communicator. And it really will help you have a better quality of life if you can communicate well. It's a lot of perks that come with good communication skills, like no joke. Especially now, we're in like one of the worst job markets. The economy is trash. And even more so now, getting a job really does require you to know how to communicate with people and how to network because it's coming down to who you know. Not what you know, but who you know. People are hiring people that they know and friends and making direct referrals. Sometimes people are getting jobs and they weren't even posted. Just they know somebody who knows somebody and they found out that that department or office or job is hiring. And they like, you know, my friend could do that job or I know somebody who could do that job. So a lot of opportunities and connections are being made through word of mouth. And to make these connections, you got to know how to communicate with people. So a lot of people who, you know, struggle with that or like Avery, who have social anxiety, who have self-confidence and self-esteem issues that are preventing them from being able to communicate with people in real time and make those relationships, this really can impact your livelihood. And we're seeing that now with this job market. Like the people who are getting the jobs are the people who know how to talk about their skill set online, who know how to translate skills that they've developed in maybe a different job and show how it's transferable to this other job that they're looking at. All of this is connected to good communication skills. So Taylor was dropping a lot of gems in these first couple of chapters about flirting, how flirting's connected to just, you know, good conversation skills and communicating with people. And there's a lot of science that supports this. Okay, a lot of science that supports this. So I wanted to make sure I called that out this week because, like I said, I keep ending up in conversations with people who are communicating to me that they are having a really hard time dating. They don't know where to go and meet people. And when they do go out, they're having a hard time sparking up conversation with people. And I think it's the same thing that Avery's struggling with. Taylor challenging her to talk to strangers and like literally giving her these tangible tips that she can use as she's going to talk to strangers. Yes, these are good skills for someone who's trying to meet a potential partner to engage in some flirting. But I think they're just good communication skills to help you get to know people and build connections in real life that could lead to either a romantic relationship, perhaps a platonic relationship if you're looking for new friends, or a professional relationship if you're trying to network because you're looking for a job and you're trying to make a career change or you need some new employment. So, like I said, Taylor was dropping gems, y'all. In the book, she was talking about how when we're engaging in small talk, I love that conversation they were having about small talk because Avery mentioned how she doesn't like small talk and really struggles with it. And I too hate small talk. Okay, that's when my introverted side comes out. I want to have real conversations and talk about something of substance, even though I could talk about the weather all day. I love talking about the weather because the weather is connected to climate change, nature. It's so many things I can do with a conversation about weather. But it's other things I hate. It's very exhausting engaging in small talk all the time. But Taylor made a good point that when we're engaging in small talk, it helps us get to know someone else and build rapport to determine if you want to even have future conversations or future connections with this person. So, how are you going to initiate a friendship? How are you going to initiate a relationship and even get to the point where y'all can maybe go on a date without engaging in some initial small talk? So, when she framed it that way, I'm like, yes, I could understand that. Even me, someone who's anti small talk, I do see the benefit in talking about these very trivial things, just to get to know somebody and spark up a conversation. Something that I really like too, how she talked about giving compliments as a way to start conversations. I am someone who dishes out compliments like they're candy. Okay. I'm very liberal with my compliments. I am a natural born cheerleader. I love building people up and pouring into people. You really never know what somebody is going through. Okay. And words of affirmation, I am very liberal with them. I love spreading positivity and just pouring into people in that way. It does make you attractive. Okay. I can tell when I am giving compliments, people's whole demeanor will change. It immediately disarms folks. They tend to view me as being very friendly. I am very friendly to an extent. I'm friendly with those who I want to be friendly with. I don't like everybody. Okay, I'm very much a Capricorn. I don't like everybody. And sometimes when I'm in spaces, if I don't get the right vibe, I'm not going to spark up a conversation with you. But that connects to what Taylor was talking about. Only flirt with people you want to flirt with. I'm only going to talk to people I want to talk to. And I can read people and read a room and I can tell whether or not you somebody I even want to talk to. Okay. But sometimes you got to fake it till you make it. Sometimes you have to spark conversation with people that you wouldn't naturally be attracted to talking to them, especially if you're trying to do things professionally. Sometimes you're in spaces with people that are the movers and shakers, and you got to push past that discomfort to go and spark up that conversation with them because that could be your new job that's on the back end of that conversation. Sometimes we really do have to just boss up and do what we got to do and talk to some people that we wouldn't normally talk to get what we want. And I think it's just good practice starting conversations with strangers because you won't know. You don't know these people. So the only way to get to know them, to decide if there's somebody that you would even want to have future interactions with, is to spark that conversation. So I'm actually giving y'all homework this week. I think that we should take a page out of Taylor and Avery's book and really push past our comfort zones and spark up some conversations with strangers. Start off with a compliment. Like she said, make eye contact. So there's a science to flirting. Let's start there. There's a science to flirting. I was doing some research and there's 5 different styles of flirting. One of the styles or one of the types of flirting is physical flirting. This is flirting that involves body language and your physical person. So, eye contact, gestures, facial expressions. So, when Taylor is telling Avery to smile, this is a form of physical flirting. In the research that I've done, a lot of the studies show that when people are being flirted with, they don't even know. It's really hard to tell when somebody's flirting with you, often because the flirting is way too subtle. It needs to be way more overt for somebody to even tell that you're flirting with them. So I think physical flirting is a way to really be more overt, to show someone that you're flirting with them, batting your eyes, smiling, standing physically close to them, putting your hand on their arm can communicate to the person that you're interested in building a relationship with them or getting to know them in some way. But that is a style of physical flirting, like the eye contact and smiling and things like that. Another style of flirting is traditional flirting. And I feel like this is where a lot of people fall. But traditional flirting really relies on gender roles, where the men are the pursuer and the women don't want to come off too strong. And I feel like we are in same sex relationships. And I feel like oftentimes, because of the way that we're socialized, people tend to default and follow more traditional styles of dating and flirting. But we're in non traditional relationships. You do not need to follow that. So it's hard to know who's queer, who's a lesbian. Unless you're wearing something that, like, identifies you as a lesbian, like you got on rainbows or a shirt that says something about being a lesbian, sometimes it's really hard to tell. So I think the way that we've been socialized to rely on the more masculine party to be the pursuer, like, really hinders people from finding potential partners. So if you're someone who's femme presenting and you're at an event or you're outside at a bookstore or something and there's nothing really to, like, identify you as being lesbian or being queer, and that someone else, they might be interested in you but they might not know, if you're someone who likes women, they may be reluctant to come up to you. There's always, like, that fear of rejection. They may be reluctant. So if you're interested too, I think that more people need to shoot their shot and be way more overt about expressing interest, and really putting it out there, because I think everybody is kind of dealing with the same fears of rejection. So I'm really challenging people to be like Avery and Taylor this week, like, push past your comfort zone and put yourself in spaces to spark a relationship with someone new. Whether you go on, like, meetups.com to see if it's events happening in your city so that you can go and meet new people. Perhaps you're booed up and y'all have been doing the same type of things all the time. Like, plan a new date night. Go somewhere new this week, okay? Try something different. Explore something different in your city to spice things up. But I read these first couple of chapters of the book and got so inspired, okay? And I think the tips that Taylor gave Avery are solid. So, like I already mentioned, she told her to make eye contact when she's talking to people that are new. Remember their names. People like and they're very flattered when you can remember their names. So she had suggested, like, repeating the name a few times so that you can commit it to memory, smiling so that you can come off as friendly. And there's a lot of research that supports that. So I know y'all know, but just a reminder that when I bring up articles and I bring up research on my podcast, you can always go to my blog and look up the show notes for that episode to get links to the actual articles that I'm referencing. Like I mentioned, there is research that supports that people are attracted to people who are responsive, who show that they're attracted to them too. So doing that by being a good listener. So when someone's talking to you, showing signs of engagement, whether it's nodding your head, repeating back the things that they're saying to you to show that you were paying attention. So when Taylor told Avery, like, make sure you ask questions and that you show that you're listening, be an active listener, that was solid advice. And the research supports that. Like, people will perceive you as attractive if you show that you're responsive when they're talking to you. So, like I said, Taylor was giving some solid advice. She told Avery to find 5 different people that she'd want to talk to. So she said, only flirt with the people that you want to flirt with. So I'm going to tell y'all that I think that we all should take this week, put ourselves in new spaces to meet new people, and find 5 strangers to talk to. So go wherever people are. Okay? And practice these tips that Taylor gave Avery. And I think that this can help us start to build more meaningful relationships, at least help us get closer to making some new connections. Because, like I said, I keep ending up in conversations with people who are struggling to find potential partners, who don't know where to go to meet people. And I'm like, well, you don't go anywhere. You're not going to meet nobody new at home. You got to go out and put yourself in spaces where people are if you're trying to meet somebody new. So I am encouraging everybody to mimic Taylor and Avery this week. And let's go out there and try to make some friends. And you never know, that budding friendship could result in a new job. It could lead to a new bestie, or maybe it could lead to marriage. Who knows? Aim high, okay? Let's aim high. Thank you for tuning in to the Book Lovers Club. If you love today's episode, make sure you subscribe so you never miss a chapter. And if you're feeling generous, leave a review, because you know those reviews help other lovers find us. So if you want to keep this conversation going, please join me on Instagram or hop on over to Fable to join the virtual book club. And until next time, remember, the stories we read can help us write the love lives of our dreams. See you next Sapphic Saturday.